Welcome to my channel. What if one man's anger, dreams, and ideas could change the world forever, and not in a good way? How did a failed art student become one of the most feared leaders in history? Today, we're telling the true story of Adolf Hitler. This is not just a story about power. It's a story about pain, war, hate, and how dangerous one person's vision can become when others choose to follow it. From his childhood dreams to his rise in politics, and finally to the destruction he caused across the world, this story will help you understand one of the darkest chapters in history. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the end. Chapter 1. The Early Life of Adolf Hitler, From Dreams to Darkness. Adolf Hitler was born in 1889 in a small town in Austria called Braunau am Inn. From the very beginning, his life was a mix of discipline and care. His father, Alois Hitler, was very strict and often angry. He wanted Adolf to become a government worker, someone who followed the rules and earned a stable living. But young Adolf had a different dream. He was much closer to his mother, Clara, who was gentle and kind. She loved him deeply and supported his interest in art. Adolf did not enjoy school. He was not a top student and had trouble with discipline. But there was one thing he loved: drawing. He spent many hours sketching buildings and imagining beautiful cities. More than anything, he wanted to become an artist, a painter who could bring his ideas to life on canvas. As a teenager, Hitler moved to Vienna, the capital of Austria, hoping to study at the Academy of Fine Arts. This was his big dream. But then came a moment that would change everything. He applied to the art school and was rejected, not once, but twice. The people at the academy said he had no talent. They told him his work was not good enough. This was a painful time for him. He felt ashamed, angry, and confused. His dream was broken. He started living in poor shelters and sometimes even slept on the streets. He tried to earn money by painting small pictures and postcards, selling them for a few coins just to buy food. But during this time, something else started to grow inside him: hate. Instead of blaming himself for his failures, he began to blame others. He started to believe that Jews and other groups were the reason for his problems. He listened to angry voices in the streets of Vienna, where many people were already spreading racist and anti-Jewish ideas. Vienna at that time was full of political tension, fear, and hate. Many groups blamed each other for poverty, for job loss, and for social problems. Hitler, young and angry, absorbed all of this like a sponge. These ideas slowly took root in his mind. He was lost, poor, and without direction. His dream of becoming an artist was over. But instead of giving up completely, he began to dream of something else, something much darker. His heart was full of anger, and he wanted power, control, and revenge. He failed to become an artist. But what came next would change history forever. Chapter 2. A Soldier's Path: Hitler and World War I. In 1914, the world changed forever. World War I had begun. Many young men across Europe rushed to join their country's army, full of excitement and national pride. Adolf Hitler was one of them. Even though he was born in Austria, he asked to fight for Germany. For the first time in his life, he felt like he belonged somewhere. The army gave him structure, purpose, and something he never had before, a place where he felt important. Hitler served as a soldier on the front lines in France and Belgium. He carried messages between dangerous positions, risking his life many times. He was wounded during battle and even temporarily blinded by a gas attack. He was later given medals for his bravery, including the Iron Cross. These were proud moments for him. In the army, he was no longer a failed artist or a poor man living on the streets. He felt respected. He felt strong. But then came a moment that broke him. In 1918, while Hitler was in a military hospital recovering from his injuries, the war ended and Germany lost. The leaders of the German government signed a peace agreement, and soldiers were ordered to stop fighting. When Hitler heard the news, he was shocked, angry, confused. He could not understand how Germany, with such a strong army, had lost. He believed they were betrayed from the inside. In his mind, it was not a military defeat. It was a political one. He blamed weak politicians and, once again, Jews and other groups. He started to believe that Germany had been stabbed in the back. The war ended, but peace did not come. In 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was signed. This treaty forced Germany to accept all blame for the war. The country had to pay huge amounts of money to other nations. Germany also lost land and was not allowed to have a large army anymore. For many Germans, including Hitler, this was a moment of deep shame. Life in Germany became very hard. There was no money, no jobs, and people were angry and hungry. The streets were full of protests. Families could not buy bread. The future looked dark. Hitler, like many others, felt lost once again. But this time, something was different. He had already lost his dream of becoming an artist. He had already lost the war. But now he found a new idea, a new mission. He decided that he would not let Germany stay weak and broken. He believed he could fix it. He believed he could lead it. He was no longer a failed artist or a simple soldier. He was now preparing to become something much more dangerous. Chapter 3. Rise to Power. Hitler and the Nazi Party. In the early 1920s, Germany was in deep crisis. The country had lost the war, the economy was broken, and people were suffering. Many families had no food. There were no jobs. Prices were rising so fast that money became almost worthless. People carried baskets full of banknotes just to buy a loaf of bread. Fear, anger, and confusion filled the streets. In this dark time, many Germans were looking for someone, anyone, who could offer them hope, answers, and strong leadership. Adolf Hitler saw his chance. He joined a small political group called the German Workers' Party. It was a tiny group with extreme ideas, but Hitler saw its potential. He began to speak at meetings, and people quickly noticed him. His voice was loud, and his words were full of emotion. He blamed Jews, communists, and the government for Germany's problems. But he also promised something else: strength, pride, and a better future. His speeches were powerful. Many people who felt lost and angry started to listen. Soon Hitler became the leader of the party, and he changed its name to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party. But Hitler wanted more than just speeches. In 1923, he made a bold move. He and his followers tried to take over the government in a city called Munich. This event is known as the Beer Hall Putsch. They stormed into a hall where government officials were meeting and tried to start a revolution. But the police stopped them. Shots were fired. People died. Hitler was arrested. This was a major failure, but it also made him famous. While in prison, Hitler wrote a book called Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle. In the book, he shared his extreme and dangerous ideas. He wrote about how he hated Jews, how he believed Germany needed more land, and how he thought one strong leader should control the country. His words were full of hate and ambition, but many people read the book and began to agree with him. After about a year, Hitler left prison. Germany was still in trouble. People were still poor and afraid. This helped the Nazi Party grow quickly. Hitler began to focus on gaining power in a legal way, through elections and political deals. Over time, more and more people supported him. In 1933, the moment he had waited for finally came. Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany, one of the highest positions in the government. But he didn't stop there. Step by step, he removed anyone who could challenge him. He banned other political parties. He took control of the police, the army, and the media. Then came another major moment, a spike in the story. In 1934, Germany's president Paul von Hindenburg died. Instead of holding a new election, Hitler made a bold move. He took both roles, Chancellor and President, and gave himself a new title, Führer, which means leader. Now, he had full control over Germany. The people were told to follow him without question. Many believed he could save the country. He now had the power. But what would he do with it? Chapter 4. War, Hate, and the Fall. The Dark Legacy of Adolf Hitler. In 1939, Adolf Hitler made a decision that would push the entire world into chaos. On September 1st, German troops invaded Poland. Just 2 days later, World War II officially began. Countries like Britain and France declared war on Germany, but Hitler was not afraid. In the beginning, Germany moved fast. His army took control of Poland, Norway, Denmark, Belgium, the Netherlands, and even France. Within a short time, much of Europe was under Nazi control. Many people thought Hitler could not be stopped. But while the world focused on the war, something even darker was happening behind the scenes. Hitler's hate, which had been growing for years, turned into deadly action. He blamed Jews, Roma, Gypsies, disabled people, and others for Germany's problems. Now, he wanted to remove them completely. This was the start of what we now call the Holocaust, a terrible time when millions of innocent people were taken from their homes, sent to prisons called concentration camps, and killed simply because of who they were. In these camps, people were not treated like humans. They were forced to work in terrible conditions, given little food, and many were murdered in gas chambers. It is one of the most painful and shocking events in human history. Over 6 million Jews and millions of others were killed during this time. The world would not fully understand the truth until after the war ended, but the cruelty was real, and it was planned and ordered by Hitler and his followers. At the same time, the war kept growing. In 1941, Hitler made a huge mistake. He attacked the Soviet Union, breaking a peace agreement he had made earlier. He thought it would be an easy win, but he was wrong. The Soviet Union fought back hard. The German army was not ready for the long, cold winter or the strength of the Soviet people. Thousands of German soldiers died. The war was now too big for Hitler to control. By 1944, things were getting worse for Germany. The Allied forces, including the United States, Britain, and the Soviet Union, were winning battle after battle. German cities were being bombed. People were living in fear. There was no food, no hope, and no victory in sight. Many Germans began to question the leader they once trusted. Then came the final spike in Hitler's story. In 1945, the Allied forces entered Germany. They were closing in fast. Hitler went into hiding deep underground in a bunker beneath the city of Berlin. He knew the war was lost. He refused to surrender. And on April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler died by suicide. Just 1 week later, Germany surrendered. The war in Europe was over. When the war ended, the world began to understand the full horror of what had happened. Entire families were gone, cities were destroyed, millions were dead. Trials were held to punish the people responsible for war crimes, and slowly the world tried to rebuild from the ashes. Adolf Hitler's story is a warning to all of us. Power in the wrong hands can destroy millions. If you found this story interesting and educational, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. What did you learn today that surprised you the most? I'd love to hear your thoughts. There's so much more history, storytelling, and English learning coming your way, so don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.